I think this is a perfect pandemic novel, despite the fact that it was written well before the pandemic. Released in October of 2020, I'm talking about Rumaan Alam's Leave the World Behind. Now, I was prompted to pick up the book when I saw that the Netflix adaptation made Barack Obama's Best of 2023 movie list that included such things as Past Lives, which of course, and Oppenheimer. Now, Barack is somewhat biased considering this is the first fictional feature-length film that came out of his and Michelle Obama's Higher Ground production company. And apparently Barack had a ton of script notes for the movie itself. I think really having to do with the fact that he was the president of the United States and has a general idea of, how someone might go around, tearing down the United States or North America. But of course, the red-pilled, conspiracy-minded sort of right-wingers saw this as an opportunity for Barack Obama to gloat, to sort of slide in some Easter eggs as to the next phase of the World Economic Forum, pizza pedophile, world cabal group that he's obviously a part of, and how their next phase of world domination is going to take place. And this prompted, strangely, a whole slew of one-star reviews on Google. If you Google Leave the World Behind, you can see them. They're basically one of 3 reviews that have been copied and pasted thousands of times. Basically a variation on horrible movie. If I could give this 0 stars, I would. Just copied over and over again, which is a weird sort of flex, but whatever. I love the movie, I love the book, and I thought both of them were the perfect encapsulation of the pandemic experience. I mean, the pandemic feels like a long-distance memory. I've memory hold the entire thing. I hardly recollect anything about that. And again, a lot of it has to do is that our daughter was university aged, and my wife and I worked in jobs where both of us were able to work from home. So our experience was probably better than a lot. But I also remember people hoarding toilet paper. And then I remember the backlash to that. The Walmart down the road had a flat of toilet paper set on fire in the store, causing well over $1 million in damages. I remember the meat counter being completely empty at our grocery store. We had friends that for months antiseptically wiped down every single bit of groceries that entered their house. I mean, in the early stages of the pandemic, it seemed like all of us were fumbling around trying to figure things out. And I think that mood is perfectly reflected in the book. In Leave the World Behind, we meet Amanda and Clay. They are your stereotypical affluent East Coast liberals. Amanda is in advertising, Clay is a college professor. They take their 2 disaffected teens and escape out of Brooklyn into this wonderful, beautiful, remote little paradise, this Airbnb that promises to leave the world behind. And this reflects something that a lot of affluent East Coast liberals did in the early days of the pandemic. There was tons of think pieces, tons of why I left essays, people who couldn't contend with elevators or subways, who'd always considered leaving the hustle and bustle of the big city behind, and this was just the nudge they needed to get out. Estimates say that about 5% of the city left. Now, of course, not everyone was affluent enough to have that luxury, to have that ability to leave the city. And of course, there was many who implied that they did, but they stuck around because that's what true New Yorkers did post 9/11, post Hurricane Sandy. They stuck around. But regardless, even Amanda and Clay, who have left this beautiful forested paradise, things start to go askew for them as well. First, the Washingtons show up at the rental dorm. GH and his wife have been in the city to attend the symphony when the blackout struck. And instead of wrestling with the traffic lights out, or climbing the 14 stories up to their apartment, they thought better of it and almost instinctively drove to their forested little piece of paradise. The home they own, and in fact rented out to Amanda. Now, Amanda, this enlightened New York liberal who probably listens to NTR and would have voted for Obama for a 3rd term if she could, has a hard time with her story. She has a hard time with a black couple showing up in the middle of the night, knocking on her door. I mean, to her, this doesn't seem like the type of home a black couple would live in. What if this is some sort of a con, these people trying to worm their way into their lives? Maybe they were just the cleaners of the house, knowing the ins and outs of the place, but after something else. I mean, what could their angle be? In the book, Amanda just goes full Karen, and the movie adaptation is perfect with Julia Roberts leaning into aged bitch. They're just demanding answers to whatever vague fear that they're encountering. That's the thing. We think of ourselves as noble, generous, empathetic. properly concerned about Black lives, land acknowledgements, drag queen story hours until some sort of external stressor arrives and suddenly we're elbowing seniors on our way to get the last bit of toilet paper or antiseptic gel. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were banging pots and pans, celebrating our healthcare workers, writing heartfelt missives on Facebook, thanking the frontline workers for keeping things going. As soon as the pandemic is over, we're losing our mind at the hostess because we had to wait 30 minutes for our table, just freaking out because our flight has been delayed. The pandemic didn't make us better people, more generous, more empathetic. We just kept on being the same crappy, entitled jerkwads we always were, just more indoors. In the book, it's not exactly clear what's going on. Much like the beginning stages of COVID, we know things are bad, we just don't know how bad it is. The movie is far more explicit about the ending of the world. The other thing the movie suffers from is that it has to render the noise. Now, if you've read the book, you know about the noise. This is a noise that makes a grown man fall to his knees. It leaves a taste of a $50 on your tongue. It has to redefine your very concept of what noise is. The world up to that point is suddenly bisected into a world before the noise and after the noise. This is something that you pray you never have to hear again. Of course, in the movie, you kind of have to render that noise, and it flattens the terror of it. But a small complaint. So, it's the end of the world. What do you do? Well, in the book, it turns out you just pour another drink, bake a cake, go swimming. In the early stages of the pandemic, we were the same. We're out there baking sourdough bread, adopting pets we don't really need, watching the entirety of The Office for the 7th time now, or, like in the movie, insist on watching the entire run of Friends. In the face of the end of the world, you just sort of carry on. Thankfully, the internet goes out in the book and the movie, so you don't have to worry about crisis actors, Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, and the fact that birds aren't real. You just sort of have to live through it. Amanda gets suspicious and bitchy. Clay realizes he's soft and ineffectual, completely lost without technology, but they keep moving forward. They try and look past their differences, get over their existent biases and prejudices, because in the end, all they have left is each other. Like the theme song from the show, Rosie is absolutely obsessed with, in the movie says, "I'll be there for you." This was a fantastic read, a pitch-perfect adaptation that benefited from being watched after having read the book. Now, I did that order in reverse, and it didn't work as well recently. Over the holidays, I completely binged the first season of Slow Horses on Apple TV. This is a series of MI5 rejects relegated to Slough House. They're called Slow Horses and are led by the corpulent and extremely flatulent Gary Oldman, who's absolutely perfect in the role. I loved the first series, so I decided to pick up the book it was based on by Mick Herron called Slow Horses. Now, the book wasn't bad. I mean, it won a ton of awards and obviously warranted a TV adaptation, but I really needn't have bothered. It was completely a scene-by-scene reproduction of what I just watched in that first season. There was no backstory, no interiority, nothing that I missed that wasn't actually on screen already, aside from some minor deviations near the end. Anyway, I've at least continued on with the TV series, finished season 2, which I loved, and starting season 3, which I'm excited to get finished. Now, I know it's been a while since I last updated, and that may have continued on for quite some time, except I was struck over the holidays by how much this channel has brought to me, how many interesting people I've met as a result of The Poptimist. Over the break, I went down to New Jersey to visit with Justin, he of Ghost Reader of BookTube fame formerly, and now of Justo Nature Photography on Instagram. Now, I'll have links to all these folks down below. I would continue on down south and meet with Robert of the BookTube Prize fame, as well as Pages and Pores. Wonderful host, and in fact, Leave the World Behind is a book that he gifted to me that I read and immensely loved, obviously, and warranted talking about here. And then it struck me about all the wonderful people that I've met as a result of the Discord, from Alex over in London to Soph and John in Amsterdam. I know I have to make my way out east to meet some more of the Discord regulars, and I'm hoping that I can meet with Britta of BookTube fame in Germany when I return again in the spring. So the channel really has brought so many awesome and interesting people into my life, and I can't forget that. So anyway, regardless, that's it for me this week. Who knows when I'll be back again? Hopefully not too long. So in the meantime, I hope you have a great week of reading. We'll talk again soon.